You know that feeling when it seems like you're just swatting at symptoms but never really getting to what's causing them? Well, today, we're going to look at a faith-based approach to trauma recovery that does something different. It goes straight to the root. So, in a previous explainer, we talked about the 5 main approaches to Christianity in counseling. Today, we're going to zero in on one specific system. It's called the Strategic Trauma and Abuse Recovery System, or just 12-SDSR for short. We're going to see where it fits in that whole spectrum and, more importantly, how it really changes the conversation around healing. It's all about integrating faith and psychology to get at those deep, hidden wounds. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so before we jump into the nuts and bolts of the model itself, we've got to understand where it's coming from. It's really important to see how it fits into the bigger picture of faith and mental health. Because this isn't just some new self-help trend, It's a really specific, carefully thought-out system. Okay, quick refresher from what we've talked about before. When it comes to faith and counseling, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. There's a whole spectrum, right? You've got scripture only on one side, and then on the complete other end, you've got approaches that basically keep psychology and theology in separate boxes. But smack in the middle, you find something called the integrationist view, and it's super common. And the big idea behind the integrationist view is actually pretty simple, but it's also really profound. It's this: all truth is God's truth. So what does that mean? It means we can take insights from psychology and ethically, intentionally blend them with scripture and spirituality. Now, this is where 12STR comes in. It's a very specific kind of integrationist approach. It's what you'd call source first, and that's key. It means it doesn't start with the symptoms. It starts with the source of the pain, the trauma itself. It's a super targeted system. So what really makes this whole model different? Well, it all kicks off with this huge shift in the kind of question we're asking. And honestly, if you get this one thing, you'll pretty much get the heart of the entire 12STR model. Think about it. For so long, the go-to question in a lot of places has been, what's wrong with you? See, that question immediately focuses on the symptoms, the behaviors, what the model calls the fruit. But 12-STAR completely flips the script. It asks a totally different, way more compassionate question. What's happened to you? This question is a game changer. It looks right past the symptoms for a minute and goes straight to the experiences, the wounds, the roots. The whole assumption changes. It's not that you're fundamentally broken, it's that something happened to you. And this image, it just says it all, doesn't it? We start at the root, not the fruit. Those behaviors we see, the anxiety, maybe the anger, an addiction, that's just the fruit. So often they're actually protective mechanisms that our minds came up with to help us survive something really painful underneath. The 12STR philosophy is basically saying, hey, stop spending all your energy just trimming the bad fruit. If you want real, lasting change, you've got to get to the root. Because when the roots are cut, the fruit will die on its own. Okay, so we're using this word trauma a lot. It's a word that gets thrown around and can mean a bunch of different things, right? So let's be super clear on the definition we're using here. Trauma, in this model, is any event that was outside of your power or control, that contradicted who you are to the point that your stress just went through the roof and it created losses you just couldn't accept. The key thing to remember is it's not just about the event itself. It's about your experience of it and the damage it did to your sense of self. So how does this all actually work in practice? Well, this here is the roadmap, the whole 12STR pathway. It's a very deliberate, very structured, 3-phase journey, and it's designed to guide someone safely from just surviving to actually thriving. You can see the journey move through faith, then hope, and finally, love. So let's walk through each of these phases one by one. All right, phase 1. Now, you might think the first step is to just dive right into the deepest, most painful stuff, but no way. That would be like trying to build a house in the middle of a hurricane. It just wouldn't work. So the first, and I mean the most critical phase, is all about building a solid foundation of safety and stability. This whole phase is about growing in faith. I mean, before you can do any of the really deep work, the ground underneath you has to be steady. That's what phase 1 is all about. It's about establishing trust with a counselor or a guide, creating real safety, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's about understanding the impact of what happened, and even just accepting that, hey, grief is a normal part of this. It's all about building your house on solid rock, so that when the storms of the healing process start to come, you've got a secure place to stand. Okay, so once that foundation of safety is really solid, then you're ready to move into the heart of the work. This is phase 2. It's all about carefully reprocessing the past and, importantly, grieving the losses that came with it. This is a phase defined by growing in hope. This is where the real deep healing of those hidden wounds actually happens.
And what makes phase 2 so powerful is its structure. This is so important. It's not about just aimlessly talking about the past and reliving it over and over. No, it's a very specific, guided journey with 6 core aims. You tell your story, you identify the beliefs that grew out of it, you acknowledge how you responded, you grieve the losses, and so on. This super structured approach is designed to prevent re-traumatization and allow for real healing. And notice, the focus is on resolving the grief. It's not about trying to fix you as a person.
And that right there, that is the absolute key. The whole point of this structured process is not to get you stuck in your trauma. It's to resolve it. It's about making sure you can finally be released from it. It's a guided way to work through that grief that's been trapped inside, so it just doesn't have a hold on your present anymore.
So after all that deep work in phase 2, you get to phase 3. And this final phase isn't about more heavy processing. It's about restoration. It's about moving from recovery into a whole new way of living your life. This is the phase that's all about activating love.
And here's the thing to remember. Healing isn't the finish line. It's actually the new starting line. And the goals here are pretty clear. First, you reconnect. That means intentionally rebuilding healthy connections with yourself, with God, and with other safe people. And second, you integrate. This is cool. It's where you stop working on your healing so much and you just start living from your healing. It gets woven into the fabric of your daily life. You start making decisions from this new, healed identity, not from a place of being wounded.
And this quote, it just captures the whole spirit of this final phase perfectly. A successful trauma therapy is about more than just not having symptoms. It's about having a life, a present, and a future that aren't completely dominated and dictated by the past. That's the goal. It's not just about stopping the pain. It's about actually getting your life back, a life that feels free and hopeful and truly yours.
And maybe this is the most powerful idea of all. The goal isn't to get back to who you were before the trauma. That person doesn't exist anymore. The real goal is transformation. It's about becoming who you're being shaped to be through this whole journey. Someone who's maybe stronger, more compassionate, and more whole than you ever imagined.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What might it actually mean for you to live from a place of healing, and not just from a place of survival? To get beyond just managing symptoms and to really live from a place of being healed, what might that look like? What new things could be possible? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.